How's everybody doing today? Today I have had a bit of a day, a bit of a rushed hello. You got stuff to do, let's get going day. And that's good. It's a good thing to have because I'm not going to complain. But, we got to go to Lori's mom's house and help her out and get all kinds of things in order. And, at the same time, Lori's driving her mom back to London in order to get help her out with something else. Good times. Good times. Now, listen, I might have a guest join me tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it if we can get it all arranged. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get cracking with today. Not a lot of notice given for today's stream, but really, okay. I never really expect people to feel obliged or people to feel like, anything about having to come and be here, but I appreciate when people do. Linda's saying hi. Hi, Linda. Welcome aboard. So I'll show you the original for today's page, but here's the finished page and with the text added on and a bordering, some borders put onto some of these panels and a little bordering motif that's laid out in the original, but it's more refined and cleaner lines in the finished image. So I'm pleased with that. The original, bingo, there we go. So there's the original and the mixed media on the paper that we modified yesterday. You can still see some of the paper shining through, and I think that kind of thing is a lot of fun. But yeah, it went well. It went well. So I'm really pleased with how this came together, and we're on. This was page 23 for this year. So I know I got a backlog of a couple of the tutorial videos to clean up and put in that folder. I realize, and I will be getting those done probably later on today, tonight more than likely, and just a really busy day. We've got some company coming by tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. Excuse me. Cough, cough, cough. I know a cough is coming. Okay, so welcome to those of you that are in the chat. Welcome to those that are in the balcony. I appreciate you stopping by. So I've done a couple of these mixed media things for the last couple of days, and they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. There's a lot of utilization that you can get out of the same. These are 11 by 17 pieces of paper. Now, this is the standard size piece of paper that you draw on from up here all the way down to here when you're doing Western comic books, and you're doing them for larger publishers. They want you to draw in that format, and they prefer you to draw on less of a bond paper like this and more of a Bristol or cardstock paper, which is what this is. And I've got a little pre-established line system that goes around the edge of it for squaring off some panels for myself. So it's not that I don't have the cardstock in this paper type or in this paper scale. It's simply that I'm not overly engaged in using it quite yet. I'm having a lot of fun playing with this type of paper, and it's very durable without a lot of curling and without a lot of warping or anything like that. So you can get a lot of things to happen on this paper, and it has everything to do with how you move the mediums that you're using around on that paper. If you heavily saturate anything, it's going to fall apart. And if you got this part over here is wet and this part over here is completely dry, then you're going to have buckling. You just are. It's a case of if you're adding all this material to this side, you've got to do something with the opposite. Whether it's just throw water at it or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just something in order to keep that buckling from taking hold on you. That's at least what I found over time. And then there's a lot of opportunity that can present itself when you're spreading medium around like that. Now, the reason I keep turning this over is that there's a whole half a page here that's still available to be used. So why not? And I'll just take a chopper I have here in the studio and cut these apart like I did the last two that I did on the same sheet, which is these two. This is, again, same piece of paper. So, you know, you can get a lot of bang for your buck when you figure out how to use your supplies that you have, and you figure out how to maximize their potential. Now, last couple of days I've been using the Zorn palette in watercolors on the pages that I'm doing. I'm enjoying that. The Zorn palette is a nice limiting palette of really basic values of yellow, red, a brown or earth tone, a blue, white, black. And there's variations on the colors that people pick. And then there's, of course, company names for the colors that people pick and things like that. So I'm not going to get into all that jazz. But so one of the things that we can do is that I thought I might do some of this. These are just pieces of card that I collect all of these different bits around the same size as when remember when you were in school and you were doing a speech and you're putting it on your little cue cards. This is all to that scale. And so I've got a pretty fantastic stack that's just been developing over time, and there's still more. I just don't, can only pull out so much. But Linda says, I've never used a Zorn palette. It's I'll type in the spelling for it just so if you want to look it up and investigate it. It's Zorn. So, and I'll put it up on screen here for anybody that's watching. The Zorn palette, Zorn is just this person that realized that if you look at a lot of classic paintings, there's a basic color system that's at play. And this is, I haven't used the Zorn. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to correct you like correctly. I'm just, I thought I'd put up the correct spelling. So if you want to look into it and investigate some examples of Zorn palettes, then that's the only reason I spelled it out. So you can get such a range of value using just these basic colors. And it goes, now with watercolor, it's more of a challenge for the blending because, there's a completely different approach to it. And it's more, because of the translucence of watercolor, you can really get into layering, and you can really get into changing your value system by building it up. But you can get such a fantastic range with a Zorn that it's worth trying. It's worth having some fun with and playing with for a moment. If you want, I can just use this, and we can try to do a portrait if you want, if that might be of assistance to you. Because I don't mind doing that. I've got lots of these, what are they called? Paintbrushes. And I'll show you something. I'll show you anyways. So we got our basic colors here, and all I'm doing is pulling them from watercolor tubes. And all I've got is an umber, a Prussian blue, a vermilion, and then a yellow ochre. Now I've added in a second ochre here. But these basic 4 variations therein, there's a coolness, warmness factor that people will apply to those values. They'll use certain brands that have certain specific names. But with these 4 specific colors, you can pull together a huge range of values. And especially lots of fun flesh tones. Now, I showed this the other day. I'm going to try to show it again. I'll see if it'll turn up. This is the thing about limiting values is that you can get so much out of that. Hopefully this is going to show up despite the glare. Okay, well, it might be a little, let's see if I cut the light down for a second. Okay, so this is a piece I did, a study from Caravaggio. And this piece actually limits it to, it's a burnt umber is the only color per se. And then there's tints and shades. Whites and blacks, and variations therein to give the range of value. And so because of this, you get a pretty solid field of interesting tones that you can build up your composition with, your characters with. Now the Zorn palette is just a little bit more of an extension than that, but basically, the reason I show you that is that, and I haven't got further into this in the last few days, but when you start there, oftentimes there have been a number of people that we know historically will build up an entire composition using burnt, an umber or some kind of earth tone paint with the white and black paints, and then the remainder of the colors that you'll find that get laid into some of those compositions are entirely glazes and washes. Some artists do this, not everybody, but there's a number of classical artists that we've discovered. That's really what some of them are up to. I got a couple of friends that use that approach contemporarily. I will at times use that approach, but honestly, I find that it can mute the blacks, the nice, sharp, deep black values that you have in a painting, or it can dirty or sully whatever white surfaces you have. And then there's also the problem of whatever material you have on a piece of paper that changes the absorbency of the pigment, the paper. So Chris says hi. Hi, Chris. Hi, Linda. Hi, welcome aboard. So, okay. So just for interest's sake, okay, I'm going to take some of this yellow ochre. I'm going to take some of this vermilion. So vermilion's kind of like a red-orange, okay? And so now that I've got this, a little bit of this loaded up on this brush, not a lot, but a tiny bit of it, I'm just going to show you for interest's sake, that if I take some of this pigment on the watercolor brush and I start cutting in shapes with, am I in panel? Let me shift over just a little bit. There we go. So if I'm going to, I can actually just do this. What am I doing? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let me see here. There we go. Better. I can see what I'm doing. This colors and just build up a little bit of a composition by just laying in some of these values. And now this works quite a bit differently with acrylic than it does with watercolor, and it has everything to do with that translucency that I told you about earlier. So I'm putting in some of the face of a character here who's I don't know, deep reflection about something going on. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll put in, now I'm going to work wet and wet. I'm going to try to work really quickly. Chris says, I need to go to work soon, but I'll be around for about 30 minutes. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. I hope work's going well. Busy, hectic schedule for Chris this semester. Okay, so now I'm cutting in a secondary mix where I've, got that lighter value applied to it. And I'm just tightening in on some of these shapes. But I'm also putting little accent points to just add some variation in the value around the eye. Okay, so, and as we're, pursuing things like this, it's sort of allowing us to think our way around the shape, the form of the guy. Just a couple little smacks and dabs of value here. It's not that I'm necessarily doing a whole composition, but what this is, it comes off as really light, but it's a lot of flesh tones right now. Now, when I introduce this ochre, build some of this up. Now I still got some of the vermilion in my brush. Okay, So again, like I said, I'm working wet and wet and wet and wet and wet. So not giving a lot of time for the paper. It's just paper to dry. So we're just having some fun for a moment. So I'm throwing in some of that deeper value and just building up parts of the image. Anyways, so you can see how, I don't know if it's necessarily picking up in the camera the way I wanted it to, but what I'm trying to show is it's really fantastic for pulling a lot of these pigments together for the flesh tones. Give that a second. I'm just rushing into wet and paper. Says, hey, give me a second. The other thing I was going to show you for today is that because I've got all of these cards, I thought maybe there's something, maybe some illustration specifically on these little bits of cards and doing some panels with those. I've done this a number of times, and I've got no specifics about what I use. So what this is that's a ballpoint pen that I've got on a piece of cardstock. I'm going to use this random pen. What's the brand? It's a Uniball roller, and I'll start carving out the same figure. Let's see how well it turns out. Maybe I'll come at it this side, and we'll build ourselves around the opposite way. So again, I'm just putting together these shapes and trying a different approach to it because I'm just using this simple uniball and trying to pull together some values by just doing some fun little hash marks and throwing shapes around. I don't get too caught up. I don't get too overly worried about things. I'm just trying different stuff and throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what sticks. And always experimenting and always playing. So somebody asked me recently about the algorithm and my thought and consideration about how would you feel if your work was scanned by a computer algorithm and so it would produce the next thing by you. And I said I might give an algorithm a heart attack because I'm so haphazard and random in how I work. I don't know how it would predict it. What could possibly be the next thing. The next piece Chris will do is exactly like this. I don't know what it would come up with. I'm kind of curious about that now. Like there's a part of me that just thinks maybe. I'm kind of interested in seeing what it would come up with. Problem with it is I don't know enough about computers to know. I do know enough to stay away from things I don't understand. But I don't know if I know enough about computers so that if I plug my work into something and does it just eat it up and anybody can utilize that as part of a source of whatever it is that they're drawing upon. And then I have fun doing whatever I'm doing. I wouldn't want it to become a mechanized process. You got to just keep having fun. So the Uniball roller is a nice quick sketching pen that I find. It gets lots of different shapes and lines and you can get lots of different plaques and build those up. So I'm drawing a similar eye to the previous one that I did. But this is a challenge with wet and wet and wet is that you got to give it a second to dry so that you can start chopping these other shapes into your composition. So okay, so what I got going here, let's see if I can come at this another way. I don't want to just use what you would call it, a jelly roll white. So I'm going to build it up with pencil crayon. So we're going to switch from drawing the negative lines that we're doing for defining the parts of the face, and then we're going to move into using these positive lines, the opposite approach. Okay, so I'll do the same thing here and cut some more into these spaces in these areas with the pencil crayon. So this week is the 400th episode of the Artcasters. And one bunch of guys have been on their program a couple times now, which is really nice to be asked to come and hang out. They good guys. Scott Circlin and Joshua Kemble and Corey Kerr. Now, Lori straightened me out last night. I keep saying Kerr. And just, I don't know what it is. It's just how I pronounce it. I pronounce it Corey Kerr, and she's corrected me. She believes it's Kerr. So I'm going to switch to that for the moment and see which one's right. Excuse me. Lungs still aren't 100% here. Okay. Wow, I'm going to drink in a second. So, just knocking his face in here, and then I'll come right back to this because I think it might be a little drier, so we can work with this crazy limitation of color. Okay, so oftentimes I'll do this. I'll do two completely different approaches to mark making at the exact same time. I'm a bit of a ding-dong for that, so it's just having fun. Anyhow, look up. I'm not sure where the link is, which person's channel it is, because they share their streams across each other's channels. But look up Scott Circland and Corey Kerr and Josh Kemble and see if you can find the notification for their live stream. It's on late at night, so maybe that's something you want to watch on video. They're in the East Coast, so they, it's much earlier for them than it is here in the Eastern Standard Time. So, I mean, they're about 3 hours ahead. So they'll be doing this at 7 o'clock at night, and it's 10 here, So a couple times I've been on it, I'm basically staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning, and it's, I think, at 9, 10 o'clock for them, something like that. So I've got a bunch of time lapses to post as well. When I draw with these simple tools on these random pieces of paper or whatever, and I'll just hold it stable in a spot and just time lapse it and make a really short video out of it. So I got some of those coming up that I'll be putting on the channel here. So if you see one, I don't draw that fast. Quick. I draw somewhat quickly, but I don't draw that quick. Just to let people know. I don't want anybody thinking, whoa, Chris got super fast. He must be doing hard drugs. No, not that exciting a person. There we go. So this is kind of fun. It's kind of a fun way to apply. You got this half blue, marks all over this piece of paper. So you're still drawing your image over top of it. It's just you're transitioning the way that you're putting your marks down, positive and negative, but doesn't mean at all that you need to change your composition. In fact, sometimes it makes it a little more interesting to keep pushing into that light and dark in the same image. So if you had an opportunity to try something like that, I recommend you do. It's fun. And it teaches you things too. I mean, it teaches you to look at things differently, you know, and think about things in a very specific way. When you're drawing black line art, that your brain's approaching the image in one mental state, but when you're doing the white line art and putting down the spaces between the lines, it tends to make you think a great deal of different ideas, approaches, and different thoughts in general, because you're coming at it from a completely different direction. So it helps you. It helps you to equip yourself to think in different terms. Okay, so it's just a silly face. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to just put this on standby for a moment. And we're going to go back into this watercolor one. Now I can incorporate pencil crayon into the watercolor thing too, and show some additional ideas. Chris says, yes, the tool determines the creative decisions. Well, it's not just the tool though, it's also the surface that you're using, like the place that you have to make your marks, and then sometimes the size changes, the scale of a piece changes your approach to it, especially when time is a factor. I'm going to do an 8 foot by 8 foot painting. Wow, when are you going to be done that? 25 minutes from now. Well, I would suggest that you're working super crazy fast for 25 minutes, but in order to be able to accommodate that. Okay, so Jim's joined us. Hello, sir. Welcome aboard. And Jim sent me something really funny. I'm not going to give it away, but if you watch the 400th episode of the Artcasters, you'll see the ridiculous, or at least you'll hear the ridiculous thing that Jim sent me to check out the other night that literally had me just cracking up out loud. Okay, so we're going to go into here and we're going to pull out some of this ochre onto our brush, and this drier anyhow. So, I just had an idea. So now when I come in and I put marks down, I'm going to do them with a little more. I tend to work fairly light, fairly thin, and especially on inexpensive paper, you got to be gentle. You can't put heavy amounts of water down because it's not going to do anything for you. But these marks that I'm placing now do not work, and oftentimes do not go in the same directions as the previous ones. So it's exploring these values and specifically focusing on these hits, these placements. Who's texting me right now? Okay. Good. There we go. So I'm also going to come in here with this yellow, the ochre, and a tiny piece of that Prussian blue. I'm going to make a light green, okay? And so there's certain spots, that'll come in and just little shots of that green, and I recognize that some people are like, what are you doing? Don't put green in there. Flesh to them, but yeah, definitely do. Just little hits, little intimate, little whatnots. And we'll just set this aside for a second again and give it a chance to catch up to us. But doing stuff like this, I find just gives a little bit more shape, a little more contour to the face. So fairly loose and chunky right now, but we'll get in there. Get in there a little bit more. Okay, so back to this guy. Yeah, so we've got. Why don't I see what we can do with this white watercolor in here. Let's throw some of this at this surface. Now, recognizing that the base here, the blue, is ballpoint pen. And if the base is ballpoint pen, then we're going to get light blues pulling up out of this. It should pick up some of that value. Depends on how much we're working it. But it's just giving a different shape to the surface. The more smooth application of the value is going to soften out some of those lines. There we go. I'm going to play with this Russian blue in here in a second too. We'll come in with some of the other. Chris says both faces look so good. It's very nice here, Chris. Thanks. Okay, so now I've got some of these little hits, these little splashes of the white in here. So let's go back into this face. I'm going to pull some vermilion onto the brush. The vermilion is, move you out of the way. The vermilion is this orange red. And so we're going to come in with that and find some places to a couple little access points with that. Nice deeper resonating pink into the face than the mixed flesh tone we did with the yellow oxide. It's a very different way of working, picking and choosing these little marks, these little shapes and hits, and it's really pushing this paper for a paper that wouldn't normally like being hit with all this wet spots. So thank you very much for being cooperative, paper.
No problem, Chris.
I had a fun time. I made a video for the Arcasters 400, and I had a fun time doing it, and it made me feel a little rejuvenated. We got all these editing projects that are in underplay to like Bob's House of Fish commercial and stuff like that. And I haven't been able to get anywhere too. And I got rejuvenated last night, so I'm back on track with all this. Chris says, I need to get ready to drive to work. I'll be free on Fridays to either watch or play in collaboration streaming. Ooh. See you around, everyone. Chris, let's book a date. And let me know. Maybe we can do next Friday. I don't want to say Friday this week. It's, it's like, dentist appointment. So now I've got the reason that this is so much less defined than this side is that when we look at a face, when you look at somebody's eyes, you look in one eye. When you look at a person as you're talking to them, you're not looking at both of their eyes simultaneously. Some people try to do that and they look like this as they're talking to you, right? But we look in one eye. And so the focus will be on said eye. and the other eye becomes a little more abstract. So when you're doing a portrait, feel free to, Chris also sent a message on Instagram. Looking forward to that. Feel free to allow yourself that, to concern yourself less about absolute clarity in both eyes. Okay? All right, so I'll give this a second. So thanks for bearing with me, guys. I know I'm a little all over the place today and doing different things simultaneously, but that's why they call me Mr. Boombastic. Yeah, and Jim has a new, I think it's tonight, a new, hey man, how's your movie going podcast. So check out Jim Luan tonight if you want to find out some ins and outs of the making of the animation film. And he's got a guest tonight, and it's one of these Artcaster cats that I told you about. It's Scott Circlin will be out tonight. Okay, so I've gone into an ink now. Okay, I've gone into a Winsor Newton ink because I want to cut some space together here. A little more opaque. There's a part of me that just says, I don't want to spend time building it up. So I've got some ink on the same brush that I'm doing the watercolors with, because, you know, that's how I roll. And I'm turning my brush around and using different sides of it to get different shapes. But it's just a little flathead brush. So when we're exploring our applications on the surface, we can see that we can get different kinds of marks, and that we can see when we overlap our marks, we can get different values, different opaqueness. So that's what I'm playing with right now for a moment. I'm looking at the face as less of a clean and crisp and smooth-shaped object, and more as shapes and chopping things together and over-exaggerating all of the, you know, planes of the face. And you know, there's some interesting illustrators you can look at. Thanks, Chris, for hanging out. Bye for now. Safe trip to work. There's a guy named Druillet, D-R-U-I-L-L-O-I-T, Julio. I can't pronounce it, let's be honest. But he had all kinds of interesting forms and shapes and ways of evaluating and illustrating a face that just sort of, whoops, I went with watercolor instead of the ink. Just sort of very unique style, very much his own approach to it, and great detailed illustrator. And always would do these operatic, over-the-top sci-fi. It's a sci-fi vampires versus angels story, you know, whatever it would be that he's doing. 1970s, 1980s, French sci-fi magazines, you know. And but I used to see something really interesting in that. He was so not part of the herd. He was so not doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. He was finding this sort of unique mark making way of seeing, way of applying things. You know, it's the people that do that we tend to either flat out, I can't stand that person, or go, wow, that whatever's happening here, I can't put my finger on what it is that's so compelling about it. And the reason I use such a crazy example for that is that I would suggest that includes people like Giger, that created the Alien for Ridley Scott's film, and he actually worked on the Andronofsky's. Is it Andronofsky? No, Jodorowsky's Dune that they were going to do before, you know, Jodorowsky's nuts. He's a really eccentric person, real character. Yeah, just hop up on your stool. Oh, I'm sorry, it's way over there. Let me move it. Good to see you. How you been? Corbin's joined me. But, you know, he was trying to have, if you've seen Dune, if you're aware of Dune, he tried to have Salvador Dali, the painter, play the emperor of the universe, you know, and Salvador Dali said, of course I will do this for $100,000 for each minute I'm there. I'm in the film. And, you know, so they're trying to figure out a way to shoot Dali as fast as humanly possible. But at the same time, he fully intends on having Dali in there, and it's like production said, okay, you got to slow your roll. So, yeah, Mobius doing some illustrations and the designs, and some of those were used into Alien, like the spacesuits and stuff like that. And he had, well, of course, Dan O'Bannon, who went on to Alien. But Yeager was discovered through that, and went on to create some bizarre, horrible thing that redefined scary movies. Okay, so this is just the Prussian blue watercolor that I'm now, you know, throwing into the upper area that trying to tie the two together. Jim says, up for a random game, Christopher. This is not going to be a big trap that falls in my hair or something like that, and I gotta chew off my own toenails or whatever they get up to in those crazy movies. Little mannequin goes by me on a unicycle on the floor. Creepy. As long as it's not that, I'm in. You gotta go out and kill a man. Wait, what? With kindness. Oh. Say the whole sentence at once, please. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to need a second, people. Corbin has something he wants to say. Folks, if you're like me and you find yourself getting yelled at for climbing up on a table and licking a butter knife, sometimes what you need to do is get a butter knife of your own so you don't have to climb up on things, and that way you won't get yelled at. It's logic that works. I was taught that by Mike Beatty. Thanks a lot, everybody. Gordon, that was nice you jumping up there. Was that fun? Now he's all excited. He's like smacking me. Like, oh, one more. Get me on up there. Let me talk to them people. The seriousness disappears as soon as the cat gets involved. People are like, oh, I thought he was a serious artist. All right, everyone. But Chris, answer this. What color are Chris's socks that he's wearing, or is he wearing nusag? It's a good question, Jim. One I don't know the answer to myself. Does Jim have a guess? Dun, 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 dun. What's on Christopher's feet? Tell us what's on Christopher's feet. Maybe you can answer towards the end of the show, possibly with a $500,000 cash prize. I would love a $500,000 cash prize. I don't think that's what I meant. Dun, 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 dun. What's in your bag, Angelos? Tell us what's in your bag. Hi. That's a good guess, Jim. It's a good guess. maybe $500,000 cash prize.
Ladies, do you ever find that after you've had a fine meal with specific portions denoted specifically for your size, age, and diet, that you just need to sit down and spend the next half an hour being awkward and inappropriate on the floor in front of whoever's there around you? Me too. Me too, everybody.
I don't know where these things are coming from out of you today. My vote, no socks, slippers only. Oh, that's a good guess. That's a good guess. I'm not going to tell you if it's true or not. Because, Jim, a lady's ankles are private. Okay. All right, so let's throw some pencil crayon in this. This is nice and dry. But let's just play with a little bit of that. So, stuff like in my hand is weird. Hey, what's on Christopher's feet? The new game show sweeping the nation. The new game show affecting housewives all across America. What's on Christopher's feet? Tune in daily and listen to fantastic stories coming out of Christopher's apple as he regales us with ideas of the future. And we guess what's on his feet. You might cat purring. My robot is beeping at me. So it's the same eye. It's like the same face. It's just different, very different way of interpreting it. Somebody's desperate. It's desperate to be involved. Hey, cool with the negative waves, Moriarty. So now I'm taking that white ink and come in and picking and choosing. What are you doing? You're falling down. Picking and choosing a couple of spots with the white ink and throwing some shapes in there. Yeah, I'm loving. A couple of times recently, I've gone on other people's streams and I'm just loving the interaction that maybe it's the start of the year. Maybe, I'm being naive about that myself, but it just seems like there's a rejuvenation and a sense of community with a lot of people. And I really like that. I really like that, people are doing all kinds of projects and stuff together. And they got that New Year enthusiasm about, I'm going to do all these things. And, that's great. I think that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. So the camera only picks up so much subtlety on the face. And that's, whatever it is. But we're going to come in now and make some movie on this thing. I'm just experimenting the stream and playing and seeing what comes together. But not being overly precious about See, you can't worry about whether or not you're going to wreck something. I'm going to wreck it if I do that. Well, then do it differently the next time. But in the course of, coming at it, you might find some interesting marks or approaches that you took to your mark making or your building up your materials that, oh, I really like the result of that, and I want to do more of that. So I'm try to get that in there. Can't sneeze in there. So I have a thing I do with Corbin each morning, is that when I come down to the studio, my cat expects what we call hug o'clock, where Corbin just needs a little bit of one-on-one time. And we didn't do that today because I had to rush off to my mother-in-law's first thing this morning in order to do a couple things at her place. And so now he's pestering the living daylights out of me, expecting all the attention. This is what I'm. Hold on, let's see if we can get it in camera. What I'm contending with. Let's move the camera down. Okay, there you go, kid. Do your thing. See, under the arm, over the arm. Hey, look at hey, hey, let me in there. Do you want me to do that painting for you? If you like, I'll do that painting. I think that's what he's asking. This gas in from Houston. Christopher has silk stockings with pyramid patterns on his feet. Oh, a very, very tasty guess, but as yet unconfirmable. What's on Christopher's feet? Let's go to the street and ask the people in the public what they think. Well, I don't really know who this Christopher fella is, but most contemporary gentlemen are wearing like a sort of sheer stocking. I believe they're called a sick. No, a sock. Yeah. Hey, kid. Hey, kid. Stop with the fighting. Stop with the fighting. This is it's a solid pencil with the lacquer finish around the outside edge. So I'm just so even with these pencil crayons that I have on hand at my desk, it's basically just an earth tone, a red, a yellow, a blue. It's sort of similar to the Zorn palette that I was talking about at the start, and then started getting carried away about. I completely forgot I was talking about the Zorn palette. I'm sorry. I don't think about it anymore. I just sort of use this sort of similar pattern of shapes and colors and this little habit I have or the approach I have. Stop thinking about it as the Zorn palette or anything else like that. But see, how's that look there? Well, gives it a little something. A little bit of what now, hey now. But if you play with those different colors that you don't normally find in in a face, it can really give more interesting colors, interesting variety to portraits. So yeah, so stay tuned for some more time-lapsed things that come out. And it's a lot of this card stuff. Linda's throwing in a guess. She says, maybe compression silk stockings. Silk stockings. Oh boy. Portland, Oregon. Christopher has customized slip-ons made of armadillo skin. Actually, I should have read that as this. In Portland, Oregon, Christopher has customized slip-ons made of armadillo skin. He needs to be canceled. I don't know. There you go. So let's throw this one away. Let's try a different one. Let's try this. I got a white pencil in my hand. Oh boy. What do we got? Okay, so this is a piece of flat cardstock. Now, I'm going to show you something silly that I've done on the side because I'm a silly person. And I'm going to try to do, so here is this fun surface pattern that's coming together. As I rush the side of the pencil over it. What this actually is stitching. I've stitched these pieces of paper together with thread. And I love that sort of thing. So that's why you get this crazy textured situation going on, is because it's actually thread. Okay, and so let's do the same kind of thing, but I'm going to come at it in a different approach again. But we're going to do very similar marks, and I think he's probably don't know why. All right, there we are. Okay, so yep. So it's interpreting the same subject, which is random face out of my head, just with different material and a different approach. I like that composite silk stocking guess. So I've had that covering my thing this whole time. All right. So we're going to have, we're setting up right now a visit from our very good friend and very special guest, John Jr., who will be joining us in March. Compression silk stockings. I don't know where that guess came from. What made you guess that? It's an interesting guess. Inside information. Anyhow, it just kind of looks random right now. Let's tie this together a little bit more here. That's pretty stuck in somebody's head all day. What song is that? Is that Hawaii 5-0? Oh, there you go. Linda lives in Houston, so from Houston. There we go. I think it's starting to come together now so that the reader can see its face. You know, I would think so. I hope so. What's the guy doing over there? Who gave that bozo some pencils? Anyways, there we go. There's the start of that. With another face. Dum, dum, dum. Houston. So that's Houston, Texas, yes? Linda, I'm trying to living up in old Canada. We don't know all the American places. We don't know all the Canadian places. Well, there we go. We got all kinds of fun little spaces. Chris, I've got to head out. I know my sock guess is right. I know it is. Hopefully, see you tonight, later on. Right on. No, what I'm wearing is tragically diabetic socks and slippers. It's how much they restrict the leg thing. All right, so we got some good shapes, some good faces. I have not pulled idea from the book or from the. I haven't. I've still got a whole bunch of suggestions from the convention. Let's pick one of those. Robot baby service. Robot babysitting service. That's what we'll do. Robot babysitting service. It'll be tomorrow's page. It's strange, but I could sit here and fart around doing this all day, and it's not. I don't know if it's helpful for anybody, but thanks for coming and hanging out. Anyhow, that's a fun one. Okay. Well, I have. This was a pleasant thing for me. I just sort of sat down immediately after getting back from doing stuff at my memory mills, and so to be able to just sit down and throw marks on paper, I appreciate that. But we're going to call a short one today because I have got a couple of things I need to get done. I will be putting up some time-lapse drawings today, and I hope people find those interesting. And we'll, keep doing what we can do to sort of, I don't know, help people on their creative journeys. And so if it means trying to draw and illustrate things in different ways and just explore together, and that might allow somebody to enable somebody to be able to engage in the idea of the creative idea that you had in mind, and open that up to them, then yeah, why wouldn't we try that? But so this is watercolor, some pencil crayon. This is pencil crayon and some stitched thread on pieces of cardboard. No, I guess cardstock. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we're just trying different things. I'll be doing a bunch of card panels to put together a story. So stay tuned for that, to be posted tomorrow. And the subject is robot babysitting service. So that'll be tomorrow's page. Thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, I believe, is I'm just gonna finalize it now this afternoon while I'm doing other work. That my friend Doug will be by tomorrow and joining us here in the studio. And Doug Rogers, fantastic artist. And then Chris and I are gonna talk, Chris Camus, about coming and hanging out and doing some stuff together too. So yeah, thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. I'm gonna go and get a couple things done, and my phone was beeping because I gotta figure out something with my blood sugar. But I appreciate everybody coming out. So I'm gonna sign out for now. 2 p.m. EST. Tomorrow I will be back here, and we'll be doing a new page. If you have any suggestions for story ideas, if you have any 3-word prompts, if you have any requests for a story approach or a medium that I might be drawing in, or whatever else, please feel free to let me know, and we will do. I lost a piece of paper that I was doodling on before. Oh, there it is. There's another version. So let me know, and we will do what we can. Try to incorporate that into the stream. I realize I got the camera off my head, but that's because Corbin was involved. Okay, thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.